It's Fred here, and Dave's over there as well, and we're not really camping today, we're glamping. Dave is waiting. He's perking some coffee here. So this is a little bit different even for us. Typically we go ahead and cook with our cook stoves and stuff like that, and I probably still will do a little bit of that with the Mountain House tonight, but it is, what is it, June 8th, I believe, today, or 7th? Something like that. It's a Sunday afternoon and evening. We're going to be here at Mount Gilead State Park, and we're just here for the overnight. It's supposed to be a nice night down in the 50s. You can see we've got, I got my hammock set up over there, and Dave's got his tarp over there, and we're going to kind of leave the tarp off the top. I didn't put my tarp over my hammock. Hopefully we'll have some nice clear skies tonight and I can see the stars. So we're going to build a fire, although it's not really necessary. We're plenty warm today. I think it's in the mid 70s, and like I said, it's supposed to get down into the mid to low 50s tonight. So great night for June night. We saw it on the weather and said, hey, we gotta come up. This is the first time we've been out camping since the COVID thing started, and we're doing our own social distancing here, and the campgrounds are just now opening back up here in Ohio, and we've got quite a few campers all around us here, but everybody's pretty much staying in themselves, so that's kind of a good thing. So we'll get on later on when we get a fire and talk a little bit. I'm going to try to do some videoing for just some old stuff that needs to be updated and renewed, and I haven't made the videos for a while, and I know some of my subscribers are going, did Fred die or what, you know? And so I have my social distancing wear here. One of the things that I like is I like my buff, and normally I wear my buff around my head and when it's hot for sweat and stuff like that, but I found that this makes a really nice face mask. It doesn't protect you for everything, but it does cut down on you know, me doing the spray, so I'm not worried about that out here outside, but you know, when I go to the bathroom or anything like that, I may at least put that up in case I come close to somebody. So anyways, we'll get back on later, and I needed this. I needed to get back out, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Okay, so I know I've shown this off before, but for those of you who are new to the channel, I have this, if I can keep it up here, I have this Stanley cook pot that I have, and it's got a lot of room inside of it. It's got a lid, and this is my little camping stove, which I'll open up in a minute, and then down inside you can see I've got my lighter, and I also have a small canister for gas. I really like this setup because the small canisters fit right inside of this, and so I have this, and I have my stove, and I have my lighter, and they're all in one little container. And so when you're backpacking, that's really helpful. It only takes up like a half of a pocket, and so I really like this setup. So the one I use is called E-Tech City. I think I bought 2 of these for like $12 or $13, something like that. About $7 or $8 a piece. They have several brands that aren't E-Tech City, but this basically screws onto your canister, and then these little arms spread apart. And so here it is all together. These little finger things here flip out, so it gives it a nice broad range. Now I also have something that I have a extender that fits on the bottom that has longer legs, so it actually makes a wider base, but we're sitting here on a camp table today, so I'm not worried about it tipping over. And notice it has a little sparking device. So when you turn it on, hopefully that sparking device you can see the spark, but for some reason it's not taking off. So I always bring my lighter just in case. Ouch! And if I'm not careful, I'll burn my camera and my finger. Oh my goodness. Well, you get it real here, folks. We never do things and then do them over usually. We just do whatever we do. One of the things is that you can turn these up really far, but a lot of times these have so much pressure in them it'll actually blow it out. So I tend to keep it down a little bit more unless I'm really trying to boil something fast. And I can usually get a boil that whole container of water there. I can usually bring it to boil in about 10 or 12 minutes. Sometimes a little faster, sometimes a little slower depending on the weather. So yeah, so tonight I got some Mountain House teriyaki chicken, and I've got some Idahoan loaded baked potatoes, and I think that'll do me fine for tonight. Getting kind of hungry. What time did you say it was, David?
It's about 7:15.
Yeah, about 7:15, 7:20, and I haven't eaten anything since breakfast. So yeah, I ought to be hungry. All right, so there's my camping stove and my camping system, my cook system in a nutshell. I'm not a great fan of instant potatoes, but I found these Idahoan potatoes, and there's different kinds. This one's a loaded baked potato. They have stuff with garlic in it and all kinds of different flavors. There's about 12 different flavors, and they come in they make up, you're supposed to mix them in 2 cups of water, but this thing isn't big enough for 2 cups of water. So what I do is I divvy these up, and I've got one in here and the other one I left at home. And so basically what I'm going to do is just add a cup of water to this, and I'm going to do it right here in this container because it's foil, and we'll mix them up, and these potatoes will be really, really good. And then I'll follow it up with some teriyaki chicken that's a Mountain House. Well, first night sleeping here in June. It's June 8th. Temperatures probably in the low 60s right now. And just got into my hammock. It's about 12:30. So Dave and I have had a great time just shooting the breeze, telling old stories on each other, and had a good time. I'm just using my solar blanket under quilt, and I'm plenty warm, so I'm not going to get cold tonight. I'm just in a merino sweater, and I put some long pants on just to kind of ease up on the mosquitoes a little bit, and but not too bad. They haven't been too bad, and I've got my mosquito net, and it's all in and all hooked up, so I'm pretty much set for the night. So I'm gonna sign off, and hopefully we'll make a few more videos in the morning. Had a nice night here at camp. One of the reasons why I first started my YouTube channel was to kind of introduce people that were more my age or retirement age into backpacking and hiking and camping. And I've kind of gotten away from that a little bit because I've gone on trips and stuff, just kind of taking videos and stuff. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about setting up a hammock. I have a pretty simple hammock. It's a bare butt hammock. It costs about, you can get them for about 35 or 40 bucks, which is a pretty cheap hammock. A lot of them are $80 or $100 or even more than that. If you're not really sure whether you like whether you think you'll like hammocking. Everybody doesn't like the hammock, and so I always recommend getting a cheaper one to begin with and seeing if you really like it. And again, you could, if you got enough money to spend, you can go ahead and spend it on a bigger, on a better one and a more expensive one. You usually get what you pay for. But these bare butt hammocks that I've got 3 of them now. That's how I started, and I really love it. Basically, they're kind of like the best of the cheaper hammocks. One of the better ones. One of the first part about hanging a hammock, one of the easiest ways is to get these daisy chain straps that fit on your tree. And basically what you do is you have a loop on the end and you bring it around the tree, and then you come through that loop. And so then when you come down here, you have this daisy chain of different loops. Here's another one. Here's another one. I think there's 20 altogether. These are nice and long. And what you do is you have a carabiner, and you hook that carabiner into the loop. The carabiner's hooked onto the end of the hammock. And you have the same thing on the other side. Now I have a mosquito net here as well that I used last night. But again, you have these things, and you basically just pull it tight and get the loops to tighten, and now you can just go ahead and hang your hammock in between them. These straps are very easy, and they're good for they're not bad for the trees. These are kind of flat, and they may do some minimal damage to the bark. Anything's gonna if you put it on a tree and you're hanging on it. Notice that when we have this, I loop it so that this is pulling in this direction this way. That keeps it tighter. If I had this loop on the other side, it wouldn't keep it quite as tight. Now, again, these carabiners just hook on here. The thing I love about bare butts hammocks is that these carabiners are really, really strong ones. I mean, they're really, really strong. When you sit down in a hammock, that's kind of a tricky thing in itself. What I try to do is when I sit down in the hammock, I try to have one hand, usually my left hand, on the front, and then I put my right hand on the back of it so that I've got both of them. If you just sit down in this, you look like an old I Love Lucy movie. You can flip right over, and you can really get hurt if you're not careful with this. What I'm going to do right here is just sit on the very edge of the hammock and just kind of lower myself down, and I'm just on the front edge of the hammock here. And then I can put my other hand behind me, and then I can just roll into the hammock. Also, if I need to, I've got this ridge line, and I can hold on to that as well and stand back up. We put this ridge line on here. It goes from one end all the way over to the other end, and I made it out of paracord. Some people say you shouldn't do that because it stretches, but I actually made it out of paracord. And the rule of thumb is, however long your hammock is, the ridge line should be about 83% of the length of your hammock. And what that does is, when you tie that in, what it does is it makes this kind of like, it looks like a smile on the line here. And you get kind of a perfect thing every time. You get a perfect pitch every time. And so that's why you kind of want to have that ridge line in there. So see that you can run some things along the ridge line. Here I have a little organizer sack, and it has pockets, and there's two narrow ones that fit like a cell phone, and then there's a little wider one that you can put other things. I put my chargers in there, and I put my, you know, stuff in like that. I also have these little, I don't know what they call them, they're little hookup things. When you have big ones, you can use them to tie up cables. And what I do is I just have these, I think they're 99 cents at Home Depot, and I got 3 of them, and I can actually hook anything I want to in there. I can put like a light for my head, you know, a headlamp. I could put one of those in there, or I could, you know, get a ditty bag with some of my electronics, other stuff if I want to take it. So I found those are really helpful too. I just got this from down at Trailheads, and I really like this because it actually has these little pockets, and it's easier for me to see to get things in and out of. And they have these nice little hooks, and they slide along really easy. And I just leave those right on my ridgeline the whole time. And when I actually fold up my hammock, I go ahead and fold up. I just roll it up. You're supposed to roll it up and put it in this little bag right here, and it all fits in there. But I said I don't really usually do that. I just roll it up and then I put it in my backpack, and that's how I take care of it. So yeah, so that's a real quick rundown on how to set up a pretty easy hammock. There are other things that they can use. They have cinch buckles that they use. Some of those are lighter. These backpacking, or these tree straps are a little bit heavy. A lot of people that doing, you know, 15-20 miles a day, they want to cut weight any place they can. So a lot of times they'll use something that's a lot lighter. But you know, you don't need that kind of stuff. This hammock is a little heavier than some hammocks, but it's very sturdy. Yeah, it has triple stitching everywhere. It's just it's a quality piece of equipment. It's not top of the line, but again, if you're just starting into backpacking, I think it's really a worthwhile look at. And I started here, and I haven't moved on because I really like these. I think they're as comfortable as some of the other ones, at least to me, and know several other people as well. So yeah, so that's a little intro to starting backpacking. Starting hammocking. So Dave and I always try to make it a tradition to, after we camp, we try to go eat someplace. And so we're social distancing today at the Der Dutchman. And of course they don't have the bar right now, the salad bar or the food bar. So choice is a little bit limited, but they still got those rolls of apple butter. So I think we're in good shape.
I think we'll survive.
Yeah.